Right, okay. So we're going to practice Hamlet section A. We're going to look at Act 2, Scene 2, lines 85 to 150. Most of you have prepped this already, and we've already discussed the journey that this extract takes us on. We've talked about how the tone doesn't change massively. It's perhaps a little more light-hearted at the beginning, with more matter with less art here, the kind of gentle teasing of Polonius. But as he starts to reveal what he thinks is the cause of Hamlet's madness, certainly he's taken a bit more seriously, and the tone becomes a bit more serious to reflect that. Certainly what we're focusing on is chiefly the character of Polonius. If we took this extract out of the play, we would lose a development of his character, and also this introduction of love and rejection being part of Hamlet's madness. So briefly, those things would go into our introduction, as would briefly where this falls in the play. And we've talked there about linking it to Freytag's pyramid and the structure, and we've agreed that this is part of the rising action of the play. And we've also talked about how this follows that we've seen Polonius being quite a busybody, quite kind of involved in his children's lives, giving lots of advice. And we know that after this, Ophelia will be ordered to return the love letters to Hamlet, and that they will be observed doing that. Okay. So, you are going to take me through this. He begins, "This business is well ended." Right. "My liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night, night, and time is time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is it but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go. Right, who's going to start me off? What are we going to choose from this opening? Oh, I know what I need to do. I just need to randomly pick on people because everybody's zoning out waiting for somebody else to start. Jack, I'm going to start with you.
I think the ending bit where he repeats mad so many times and sort of flips the meaning of it and tries to it's quite rhetorical, everything he says.
So the repetition of mad, it becomes rather rhetorical. Keep going, I think there's more I want to say about this. Sophie, can you pick up?
Well, kind of like he's repeating mad a lot, just kind of, it shows that he doesn't really have any sort of reason for it yet, or he's just waiting to get onto it. Kind of like he's just trying to make himself sound clever in front of people that are higher up.
Yeah, I mean he says, "I will be brief, your noble son is mad." But he doesn't stop there. Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is it but to be nothing else but mad? Okay, let's go back to this bit. What has he been saying that he'll do, Ella?
Speak briefly.
He's been saying that he'll speak briefly. And what imagery is used to support that? The imagery of time, yeah? Because what is Polonius actually... What's he glad that he's got at the moment? Attention, yeah. He's got the time of the king and queen, right? So this business is well ended, right? Tick, that's done. Now let's move on to what I want to talk about, right? And he says, what majesty should be, what duty is. I find that quite interesting. My liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, were nothing but to waste time. think about status, think about hierarchy there. Matthew?
I sort of got it like it's just a bit sarcastic, like his whole manner towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like he knows something that they don't.
Right, I don't like sarcastic, but I like the second bit that you said. He knows something that they don't, so he's got some power. And he's also subtly, he said, it's not for me to remind you what duty is. So he's also saying, I'm going to tell you something that's going to affect your duty. It's that build-up, isn't it? I've got something to tell you. Tell me then. No, I can't. No, honestly. Go on. Oh, it's that build-up, isn't it? What about this bit here? Brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs.
It's just ironic, isn't it?
So there's irony there, but also he's using a metaphor. How and why?
We think that like the best way to get your message across is to be like to be brief, like brevity.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that he brings it out in his language is tedious.
Yeah, so we imagine now a thing, the soul of this wit is to be brief, and tediousness to go on and on about what you're talking about, the limbs and outward flourishes, the play acting, yeah, the gestures, the flamboyance. And it's ironic because he's probably doing that, isn't he? Pacing, flinging his arms about. Grace?
Because the next bit where it says I will be brief,
Mm-hmm.
is that him sort of trying to gain control of himself? That he has this like self-awareness that he is a fool and like...
It could be, couldn't it? He could almost catch himself doing the flourishes and go, I will be brief. Yeah?
He has to have that respectability and wisdom and stuff.
So, does he have any self-awareness here? And then the first person to speak is Gertrude. More matter with less art. What does art mean in that sentence?
It's just been like really like
Lies, philosophical, artifice, artificial. So this is the thing, more matter with less art. And what's nice structurally about the way Gertrude says that? It's so brief. She communicates that in 5 words. So she demonstrates. And in that she shows us that she has power, intelligence, and self-control. Okay. Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis true. 'Tis true, 'tis pity. And pity 'tis true. A foolish figure, but farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad let us grant him then. And now remains that we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say, the cause of this defect. For this effect defective comes by cause, and thus it remains in the remainder thus. Perpend, I have a daughter, have while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience, mark, hath given me this. Now gather and surmise. Right. So, Jess, where would you like to go in that section?
He just repeats a lot of his words, like he's stumbling and what he's kind of saying.
Yeah, he gets lost, doesn't he? I mean, he does make sense. He's saying, that he's mad, it's true. And because it's true, that's a shame. And it's a shame that it is true. A foolish figure. What does that refer to? I'm going to suggest that has 3 meanings.
He said online it was like him, he knows that he sounds foolish.
Right? So again, it's that self-awareness. It refers to himself. Is he? Who else might it refer to? Who else might be a foolish figure?
Well, apart from Hamlet.
Well, apart from Polonius.
Oh, Hamlet.
So Hamlet. Good. But what else might a foolish figure be there? Anyone?
Is he like personifying the madman?
Oh, it could be, yeah. I hadn't thought of that. But think about language. We talk about using a figure of speech, is he, don't we? So maybe he's recognising as well that he's a foolish figure of speech. So within all of that, he's perhaps recognising that his use of language has got away from him a little bit. So as we're going through, this is what we do in our prep. We'd do this very quickly in the exam, wouldn't we? But already I'm thinking that's one I definitely want to talk about because it lets me say a lot of things, right? Okay. Mad, let us grant him then. And then we move on. So Holly, where would you like to take us? Anything from and now remains to surmise.
I haven't got anything for that bit.
All right, I'll come back to you for something else then. Erin?
You can't go overcomplicate it, so we'll just get to the comment.
Right, so there's overcomplication. So again, for this exam though, I need specific quotations discussing. Nim?
Effect and defect.
Right, what about effect and defect? What are we going to say? Anyone? Grace?
In like, when I was calling it a defect, I just read them as a defect. That brings some marshals.
Right.
Destructive for Hamlet. And then it's like the defect in his personality, which leads to.
Right, good. Anything else?
It kind of like adds to the interpretation that is like a traditional man. Because like we asked, because like the speech beforehand, it's quite like the meanings like quite like broken up.
Mm-hmm.
He's like stumbling his own words. Then he's like a random couplet, so it's a bit like he's like losing control of himself.
Right, so we're looking at the meter there.
It's also a bit like the two balls in for making him clean and like the floor has a defect.
Yeah. You can imagine Gertrude's face at this point, can't you? You say my son's defective. Right. And Matthew, what else in those last 4 lines there is important?
Where he says, I have a daughter, husband, or she is mine.
Good.
He's quite obsessive.
Mm-hmm. What about have while she is mine?
It feels like someone's going to like take her off him.
Go on.
Like,
How?
if she's a woman, she has to be like taken by a man. Does that make sense?
It does. You're just not quite nailing what I'd want you to put in the exam. Patrick?
It has something like him and a duty and obedience man. I feel like I'm taking this two ways. Like, on one hand, it's him showing his, like, to the monarchs that he has, like, that kind of influence over his daughter, as is, like, she's in way, or it's him, like, trying to make to the monarchs that he has, like, kind of molded her into, like, that truthful kind of perception of a woman.
That's interesting, that word moulded. Thomas even says something about have while she is mine.
I'd say like, I feel like he's worried about her virginity.
While she's mine, and then will be owned by another man. And tied up with that might be ideas of worrying about losing her or worrying about her loss of virginity, but it's this idea of ownership. I have this water bottle while it is mine, but when I give it to Holly, it's not mine anymore. But that's not how we want to talk about women, is it? Right, so let's just go back. I've already asterisked, I've starred foolish figure. Is there anything else there that you're thinking, I definitely need to talk about this in my exam? Whitney? Right, so we definitely want to write about this one. Thomas? Yep. And the defect and effect one. Right, let's move on. And now he reads, to the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia. Oh, that's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase, but you shall hear thus. In her excellent white bosom, these and... Right, what's going on there? Came these from Hamlet to her? So think about the exchange here. Ella?
I don't know, he's quite like unsympathetic about it all.
Right.
Like, he's still kind of mocking Hamlet even though he's just told his parents that he's gone.
Yeah. What's he actually more concerned with in this letter? What's his chief concern, Jack?
Like the grammar, the way it's written.
Yeah, that's an ill phrase. I don't like the way he's written that at all. Oh, no. Again then, what does that tell us about? He's more interested than X than Y. He's more interested than style than substance. Yeah? Appearances. Good. What's Queen Gertrude doing here? Sophie?
I can't really tell whether she's in shock or just like wanting to know. Like, 'cause obviously she knows her from Hamlet.
Yeah.
She's like stalling her because she doesn't want to live next to her.
Why? In her excellent white bosom. That's when Gertrude chooses to interrupt. Why, Charlotte?
Because he's talking about her boobs.
Because he's talking about her boobs. So, is she just in shock, says Sophie, and she's just like, what's going on? Or is she trying to protect Ophelia's dignity, modesty? Yeah? How many of your mums would like to read the text that you send to your boyfriend or your girlfriend? No, thank you. Yeah. Thomas, are you going to say something else?
I was going to say, like, she might not want to hear, like, what he's truly like to women in a sexual way.
Yeah. So even if it's not to protect Ophelia's modesty, she's just saying,
she doesn't want to see him like that. Like,
this isn't a part of Hamlet's life I need to know about. You know, he's a grown man. If he's going to write love letters to someone, let him. So we need to think there about her role as parent. Polonius is absolutely oblivious. Good, madam, stay a while. Stop interrupting. I'm going to get there. Doubt thou the stars of fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, a liar in the fire, but never doubt I Louvre. One of the things that Ben Crystal draws attention to is that Shakespeare can help us understand the pronunciation in Shakespearean times. So we can assume that move and love would have been much closer in pronunciation in the 17th century. Oh dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best, O most best, believe it, adieu. Thine evermore, most dear lady, whilst this machine is to him, Hamlet. Right. Okay, Izzy, start me off. What's interesting about that section?
What about Hamlet's letter?
Yeah.
It's very like poetic and you can tell he's like really thought about it and like for like a man or like a, well I know he's like not actually a teenage boy but like that's the sort of image you have and you wouldn't really think he would be like that in touch with his emotions.
Right.
Because he was quite like a sensitive soul.
How would you... What's the word for that then in terms... That's a good answer, Izzy. So we're seeing a Hamlet here that we haven't met before. How would we describe him? We've got Hamlet the prince, Hamlet the scholar, Hamlet the philosopher. Here we've got Hamlet the romantic, the conventional romantic lover. Right? These are quite conventional expressions. Yeah? What does this mean? I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans. I'm just going to grab my ardent. I think it tells me something else there about the numbers bit. Anyone? Did we look, Jack? It looks like you might have looked this up.
Does it mean like he doesn't have the better capabilities to like articulate how he feels?
He does. So he doesn't have the. When it says I'm ill at these numbers, it's like he can't. It's making me think of little nut brown hair. Now guess how much I love you. Doesn't have like the capacity to express it. Is it that? Mine says ill at these numbers, bad at this verse making. This sense of numbers continues in art, while the other sense suggests reckon. So that have no art to reckon means cannot count, cannot express in verse. So we've got two potentials there. One is that there isn't enough language or capacity or, to express it. And the other one is to do with expression, but it's kind of him admitting that he's not very good at writing poems. I've not art to reckon my groans. Groans is an interesting word though, isn't it? You don't normally groan if you're in pain or if you... I mean, it could have a sexual meaning, I suppose, but I don't really want to go there at 10:03 on a Tuesday morning. What about whilst this machine is to him? What does that mean?
Isn't it to do with like the while like his body is done it?
Yes. So in a play that's a lot about the body and bodies, guts being lugged, people killing themselves, people changing how they express themselves, that's quite interesting. This in obedience hath my daughter shown me, and more above hath his solicitings, as they fell out by time, by means and place, all given to mine ear. There's that ear again. It appears a lot, doesn't it? So he says, I haven't just got the letter, I've got everything else. She's told me the whole story. And now it's Claudius's turn to speak. But how hath she received his love? Grace?
I was just going to ask about what you just mentioned.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. In the words, you talk about thine other mom must do a lady, and then how, like, she's his and he's hers, and they're interconnected. So that sort of foreshadow to Ophelia's death.
It could, couldn't it? Yeah.
One can escape Hamlet through suicide. Her badness is a result of his badness.
I like that. Right.
I don't get how it foreshadows.
Go on, say it again, Grace.
So essentially, when he signs off the letter, he's saying "Oh, my forever lover," they're interconnected, he's hers and she's his, and that sort of foreshadows to the rest of the play where Ophelia can't escape.
So their fates are intertwined. She belongs to him, he belongs to her. He's going to go mad and die. She's going to go mad and die. Again, the examiner isn't looking for you to have an absolute, this means this. This could suggest that. You're speculating, aren't you? I know there's no AO5 for this part of the exam, but you kind of can't help doing a little bit of debate, can you, as you're wrestling with the extract? Right, so finally, what goes on here in this exchange? Jack?
I think it's like, just like, because Polonius like, kind of like specifies the attention to Ophelia and Polonius immediately draws it back onto himself.
Yes, yes. How hath she received us? What do you think of me? Oh, as of a man faithful and honourable. Again, it's not allowing Ophelia any agency. She's completely controlled. And Polonius makes it all about his reputation. But it's a nice little exchange in the middle of it, isn't it? Between the men. Because the men are in charge of a woman's honour. Responsible for a woman's honour. I would fain prove so. It's making me think. I wonder if in the exam it would stop there. Because it feels like we've done quite a lot, doesn't it? I did try and choose extracts that were similar in length to ones in the exam, but we'll push on in the last bit. Oh, in fact, we won't. We'll go back to this first. What would we star here? We've chosen 4 things from the previous page, so we can't write about everything that we've just discussed. So what would we choose? Megan, what was something you'd choose to write about?
The stars, because it's the first time we've seen Hamlet genuine Ophelia into.
Right, so this stuff about him being a conventional romantic lover, that's a good star, isn't it? It's rubbish. Rubbish. Matthew?
Probably the bit about the machine.
Bit about the machine. And Jess?
The bit where he foreshadows the mountain.
Right, okay. I would fain prove so, but what might you think when I had seen this hot love on the wing, as I perceived it? I must tell you that, before my daughter told me, what might you, or my dear majesty, your queen here, think if I had played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight? What might you think? What's the gist of what he's saying there?
Like, what would you think of me, like, just like doing nothing?
Yeah.
Being used?
Yeah, so again, it's not about what Ophelia's thinking or feeling, it's about his reputation again, isn't it? And what AO2 would we like to pull out of this? Charlotte? Got some really nice choices here.
I like all giving my heart a winking.
Yeah, give my heart a winking. He means turning a blind eye, doesn't he?
I like that he's used his heart rather than his sight.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're back to the idea of the body. Good. Another one, is he?
What, of this one you say?
Yeah, just in this little section, I think there's some really nice AO2. I think there's at least 3 other things that you could choose. Shall I come back to you?
Yeah.
Matthew?
I've only got those people.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have another read then. Come on. Jess?
Hot love in the wind.
Yeah. Hot love on the wing. Is there hot love and is it on a wing? No. Therefore it's a metaphor.
What does he mean by that?
What does he mean by that, Grace? Isn't it annoying when the teacher does that? Go on, Grace.
I do agree or something. But I think he's talking about like.
Whoa! Earthquake! Man down! Go on, Grace.
I took it as some sort of like hot-headed like fling.
Yeah.
Like spurring like
Yeah.
temporary romance that Tony wants to emphasise that it's not permanent and not something that.
Yeah. The hot love is something sexual, and on the wing means like
On the move.
on the move. Yeah. Good. Just seeing if there's anything else. Nah. Kind of misses that one out. Right, go on. Whitney, another one from there. You don't have to know what it means, just anything that looks a little bit interesting.
As I perceived it.
Right, why is that interesting, as I perceived it?
Because you try to say that he has authority not to.
Yeah, it's his authority and judgment. Good. Holly, another one?
If I played the desk or table.
Right, think if I had played the desk or table book. What does that mean? Those of you who prepped it, you might have looked that up as well.
Isn't that just you just being just sat there and like watched it all, like third person point of view?
Kind of. So Arden tells me, been a means of communication, a go-between. A table book was a book of writing tablets. The influence of that passage has led Kittredge and others to stress the use of tablets, for private note-taking, and hence to suppose that Polonius alludes only to storing the information away. But the essential function of both desk and table book concerns not privacy but writing. To play their part is to give active assistance, as distinct from the silent connivance referred to in the next line. So he's basically, where here he says, do you think I turned a blind eye? He says, do you think I enabled it? Do you think I actually was a bit of a go-between? And Shakespeare's given us characters like that before, like most notably Pandarus in Troilus and Cressida. So he's neither a go-between nor turning a blind eye. No, I went round to work. My young mistress, thus I did bespeak. So there's a lot of reporting of language. Here's the letter I'm going to read out. Now I'm going to tell you what I said to her. Lord Hamlet is a prince out of thy star. This must not be. And then I precepts gave her that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he, repulsed, a short tale to make, fell into a sadness, then into a fast, thence to a watch, thence into a weakness, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness wherein now he raves, and all we mourn for. What's his main reason, Sophie, for telling Ophelia that she shouldn't continue this hot love on the wing with Hamlet?
He's like out of her reach, like with the
Yeah. He's a prince out. I can't even use a highlighter today. A prince out of thy star, out of thy sphere. He's away. Grace?
Is that, I've not read it up, but you know what, I think it's in Act 1, Scene 3, and Polonius warns Ophelia not to sleep with Hamlet, because Hamlet can never have her. So if they sleep together, like, they're never going to get married, so she'll be wasted.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. He's saying, I've already given her this advice. And then took the fruits. She took the fruits of my advice. What does that suggest that she did? So she took his advice and it bore fruit. It had an effect. Yeah? And the effect was, Polonius tells off the successive medical stages of what he regards as a classical case: depression, loss of appetite, insomnia, debility, delirium, raving, madness. The sadness of the lovelorn hero is described at length in Romeo. So weakness suggests not only an enfeebled physical condition, but also a mind losing its grip. Good. And lightness actually means light-headed, and that the mind is wandering off. One of the things I'm demonstrating here is that you can have a really good go at analysing a lot of it, but there are some things you're going to have to look up. Now, I've got 6 extracts here for us to go through, but you need to be looking for your own because we don't know what's going to come up in the summer. Right. I'm going to go and print off Freytag's pyramid. Grace is going to ask me a question. No, she's not. And while I'm doing that, you're going to write me the introduction to this essay.